Hi, and welcome to everyone who is here. Our countdown timer went through really quick. I was a little surprised. I'm Robin Forster with Feel So Alive, and we are live. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're glad that you're here, and I'll explain a little bit about how this works in just a second. I will be looking at my notes. I'm still working on the whole teleprompter thing because that would be awesome, but we're not quite there yet. So, looking at my notes, I just wanted to let you know where you are. And I'm Robin Forster with Feel So Alive. And if you are looking for health and wellness and business tips for those of us who are over 50, and you're running a business and you're attempting to age with grace and flexibility, then you are in the right place. And don't forget to look for us after you see this program, Feel So Alive Marketing Group, either on Facebook or on YouTube. And let's go ahead and move on with the program. There we go. I'm playing with a new toy, and so it's kind of fun to see how it works and how it doesn't work. So our two guests today are Kathy Hicks and Dina Collins, and it's going to be a little bit different today than we normally do it, but let me go ahead and explain kind of the run of program to you so you'll know what's going on. So we have two guests. Each speaks for approximately 10 minutes. Sometimes we go a little over because the interviews, they're just such fascinating people. And so it's hard just to cut it off at 10 minutes. But today we're doing something a little bit different. Dina has written a cookbook. And I first interviewed her in March and really aired her recording in March. And she's just really fascinating. And then when I found out that she wrote a cookbook, among other things that she's doing, I had to have her come on. And so she's going to be here today. Instead of giving business tips, she's going to be talking about writing her cookbook. So let's go ahead and get ready. Oh, right. Before we begin, our world, as y'all know, is a little painful. It's getting better, but it's still some issues. So I thought what we could do is just take 30 seconds, and I'll have a timer up on the screen for us. Just take 30 seconds to send out some good juice, some good vibes, anything heart-centered. If you're into blessings, if you're into prayers, whatever it is that you do, let's just go ahead and lower our eyes. Unless you're listening to this while driving, then please don't. Stay focused. Safety is more important. But we're just going to spend about 30 seconds and just try to give back to all of the people who are hurting. There's so much pain right now, and we don't need to talk about all of the pieces of that, but let's just hold them in our heart and also our planet for 30 seconds. So please join me. Thank you very much for joining us in that. And next, I would like to introduce our speaker, Kathy Hicks with Blueprint Fitness. And I'm just going to read a little bit about her, and she's going to share a little bit more when we get into it. But she is an engineer by trade, which I thought was kind of fascinating. And because she had some health problems, like don't a lot of us, she was searching for some answers and found her passion. So I hope that you enjoy this interview. Live Informed. And our guest today is Kathy Hicks. And Kathy, you want to say hi to everyone?
Hi, great, glad to be here.
Excellent, thanks. Well, we really appreciate you being here, and I'm sure that folks, when they see this on the replay, will be fascinated by your lifestyle and what you're doing for work and for your side gig. But before we get into that, because I have some questions to ask you, oh, and I'll be looking down now and then because I have my notes, so I want to make sure we cover everything. So I just wanted to say a little bit about you, Kathy, for everyone else who's watching who doesn't know you yet. that you graduated from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo as a civil engineer.
Yeah.
Little unusual for women, so really glad that you did that. And that was in '89, so male dominated world, right?
There were 10 in my graduating class of about 100. So I thought that was pretty good. 10, 10
Yeah.
out of 100, 10%.
Yeah, that's not bad considering the time.
Yeah.
And what I thought was kind of fun was that you were saying that after 15 years of being an engineer, you realized that you wanted to be more active in helping others achieve their health and fitness goals. And so you became a personal trainer and a corrective exercise specialist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're still doing your day job, which is a civil engineer, right?
I am. Yeah.
Okay, and then you've got this side hustle, which is your passion project, right?
That's right. Yeah. That's my fun time.
Okay, well, it's gonna be fun to hear more about that from you. Oh, and then you've taken it online, which sounds normal for this day and age, and it's
Yeah.
called Fit Life Blueprint, and that you have 5 kids. You've been married for 30 years,
Yep.
and you have a set of twins, and your husband is one of a set of twins.
That is correct. It seems to run in the family down the line.
That's neat, but twins are kind of a handful, right?
They were definitely a handful. They are awesome now. They're 24. They're almost 25. So, they're great. But yeah, when they were little, oh boy, I was a tired mama.
I imagine. Well, so tonight, what we're going to be talking about is I have 3 questions for you. And the first one is tell us a little bit about yourself, aside from what we talked about in your bio, so that folks will know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, well, I was actually born in Texas, but my family kind of moved all over. And I ended up with my dad out in North Carolina, and I went to high school there. And as I was deciding what to become, I wanted to be a musician, but dad didn't think that would really pay my bills. So I took his advice and I went I changed my major 4 times, landed on civil engineering. It took me 6 years and 4 different schools to graduate. So I get something in my head, I don't stop. And I ended up at Cal Poly. I spent 3 years down there. And after I graduated, I got a job. I got several jobs, and I kind of realized it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be. And I've always been real active and always been working out everywhere I've gone. And
Uh-huh.
so as I was doing that, I realized, this is kind of my passion. I feel so happy when I'm at the gym. I feel happy when I'm leaving. I think I feel happier as I leave, but having that feeling. And after I had the twins, we had kids. And when I had the twins, I started having health issues. And I developed Graves' disease. I ended up having hip issues and back issues. You can imagine carrying around, big 7-pound babies. So that's really what pushed me into the personal training. And I started studying anatomy and wanted to figure out how to fix myself. And I discovered corrective exercise. I didn't even know that existed. And then I added a few exercise modalities that fit with corrective exercise, like Pilates, and another modality called yamana, which releases stress and tension from your body. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, how I got to where I'm at now. So still doing engineering and doing the personal training and teaching group classes. So
Oh, yeah, but that's fascinating. And I know that so many people are thinking about having a side gig and they're not really sure what to do or how to get started. So that's pretty exciting that that's very possible because you're doing it and it's fun and you're not totally pulling out your hair, so it must be working.
well, I mean, you're seeing me on a good day.
Well, that's true for all of us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Some days are better than others. There's always
Well,
a project. There's always a client, So it's good. It's a balancing act, though.
yeah. Yeah, that's neat to hear. I agree with the balancing act, and it's funny. What I've been reading lately is that it's not the kind of balancing act that we think of with the scales and trying to balance. It's more of like, what is the priority now, and that moves up to the list, and then that shifts, and then something else. Like you were saying, your 30th wedding anniversary is coming up.
Yep.
So obviously something special is going to happen. You spend some time together, so that's going to rise as a priority.
Exactly. And I have a teenage daughter, and that, she's got a job now, and so we're all trying to juggle all of these pieces in the puzzle. And my business, everything moved home, a year ago. It's almost exactly a year that I left my engineering I created a home office. So that's shifted everything to where now I never leave my house. It's very strange. So, and that's okay, but it was a big change. So,
Yeah. Well, and that's part of why I thought it would be fun for us to chat because, the whole world, except for those who were essential workers, ended up having to go home
yeah.
and not go outside, basically. But we're sidetracking a little bit, but it's pleasant sidetracking. I think it's really helpful.
Rabbit trail.
Exactly. So I think that you've done a pretty good job telling us how you got drawn into this, into both your civil engineering and fitness, and how has it benefited others?
Well, the engineering has, I have clients. I feel like I'm not really changing their lives, but working with a client today, coming up with, he's working on a big compost site. So I'm coming up with places to put the ponds that need to happen on the site. So he's very happy with what I'm doing. And so that makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. I'm really using the brain that I have developed over the years. And then with the personal training, I mean, this as well, Robin, when somebody comes back to you and says, my numbers, all of my cholesterol numbers, everything's in the green now. And my doctor's so happy with me and he's asking me what I'm doing. And I get to say, I'm working with you. That makes that is the reason why I do this, is to see people's bodies work better and nutrition, everything working together, and they can pick up their grandkids now and be more active and hike and be active as they age. And that's really why I do what I do.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, in the couple minutes that we have left, what is the gift that you want to give to the world, whether it's an exercise or a meditation, a tip or a tool? What's something that people can walk away from our chat and implement in their lives?
I think the biggest thing is just loving what you have, what you're working with, right? This is like the deck of cards that you've been handed, and you're just going to play the cards as best you can. And sometimes we don't feel like we got a good deck or we got gypped or something. And just really thanking your body for doing what it's doing and just being grateful. I know some days I'll wake up and just go, thank you for allowing me to get out of bed and breathe. And because the body works hard, and if the body knows that we're grateful, it's going to keep performing. It's when we tear down the body that it will react. It will start tearing down itself, because if you're speaking negative over your body, it'll do whatever the mind tells the body to do. And so hopefully that doesn't sound too strange, but I just think we need to learn to love what we've got and make the best, and try to rise to the next level, whatever that looks like. But being grateful at the spot wherever you are is a good spot.
I'm really glad that you said that, because for a while I was pretty good about that, and then something happened and it fell away. And I remember what I used to do, which I'm going to say is getting dressed. You see yourself naked, and body's not perfect, but it's been around a long time. And I used to just say something about being grateful and thankful and letting go of the weight.
Yeah.
and that I appreciated my body. I mean, I've had babies, I've run marathons. I mean, I've done a lot with my body, and
Yeah. And
I
you still
appreciate
are too. I mean, you're really active. I had no idea you're kayaking and hiking and all kinds of stuff. It's great.
bicycling. Yeah. And I want to continue that. And that's why fitness is so important. And plus, I'm in the health and wellness field, as you know. So that's a piece of staying healthy because you know that our soil is not the same as what it used to be 50 years ago. So it's just about impossible to get the nutrients we need from our food. I mean, the
Yeah.
seeds have changed, there's more toxins, all those things. So trying to figure out not only from the inside, like you're talking about mindset, and the outside, moving our bodies, and then making sure that we get the right nutrition for our bodies, which is different for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. It's a package deal. And it starts with the mind though, because if you're not lifting, being grateful for those cells that are doing everything they need to do, it's the body just it starts breaking down. So but yeah, I agree, inside out, physical, the nutritional, so important.
And now that we're moving into spring, thinking about green cleaners, because everyone's going to start spring cleaning. You
Yeah,
look out your window and you go, oh, I can't really see.
yeah, that's right. Clean those windows. Time for a
Yeah.
cleanse, right?
Exactly. Internal cleanse for the house.
Hmm.
Well, Kathy, in the minute that we have left, is there anything else that you want to say?
Just keep moving. Whatever you're doing, find something you love for one thing and do it. And then if you've got issues, get help. People like Robin, myself, we just love helping people get moving or get up. And sometimes it's you don't have the energy. Did you know moving will give you energy? And that was my excuse. I was too tired to move. And especially when I had those twins, I didn't want to move. But little did I know, moving was the answer to the energy problem, the lack of energy that I had. So, anyway, yeah, just keep moving, find out what you like, and just don't stop.
Well, and I think you've got a good point about finding what you like. That's really the key. I mean, if you have a best friend who's a runner and you hate running, don't try to do that.
Yeah,
Go walk instead. I mean, whatever it is that you enjoy. It's such a good point.
definitely.
But Kathy,
Yeah.
I'm watching the clock and I appreciate you giving us all your time, and I think that we need to end.
Well, thanks for having me. I had a blast.
Oh, well, good. Thanks. Excellent. Wasn't that fun to hear what she had to say? And can you imagine carrying twins that are both 7 pounds? That's a lot for a body to do. But Kathy's pretty fun. I've been enjoying getting to know her. We're in a couple of groups together. And our next speaker, and this is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. Usually we have a business person talking about some business tips. But today we're going to have a Dina Collins who wrote a cookbook, and it's called Dinas. I always pronounce that wrong. I apologize. I'm just so good at reading things wrong. Dina's Creole Table Cookbook. And before we get into listening to our recording, I just wanted to let you all know that in real life, Dina is passionate about financial literacy and education, and that's how I ran into her originally, and that was her interview back in March. She has a podcast also, which is called Black Icons and Innovators, and she consults in the business world, and she has a very long history of being in corporate and doing consulting. So it's really fun to be able to talk to her about a cookbook and food and what that was all about. So let's go ahead and bring her video in. So alive, and we're trying something new today. So Dina has created this cookbook, and when I found that out, I just went, oh, let's talk more about it. And so that's what we're going to be doing. I have some questions for her, but I think this is going to be kind of free flowing. And so the name of your cookbook is Dina's Creole Table, right?
Yes, it's Dina's Creole table.
Excellent. Okay, and it's an ebook. And why don't you tell folks what Creole is? Because I mean, not everyone knows.
Okay. Well, I'm Adina Collins, and I'm originally from Louisiana. And so Louisiana has a mixture of different cultures. And so Creole versus Cajun is that Creoles were Black freed people or Black slaves that also ended up intermingling with French and Spanish peoples during the 1600s, 1700s, and even 1800s. And so Creoles became a little bit of their own culture. They also had their own society. And so Creole influence was more kind of like an elevated, if you will, an elevated, more elegant, sophisticated type of style of cooking. Whereas Cajun cooking in Louisiana was more for, these would have been the descendants of the French Canadians that actually came down to South Louisiana. And so they actually ended up occupying more kind of the country area of Louisiana. And they ended up kind of doing more farming. They ended up eating off the land. And so, although we do share a lot of the similarities, Creole cooking would have been more, again, the mixture of Blacks, French, and Spanish settlers. So yeah, so that was the difference.
Oh, yum. I know we were talking before we started taping that last time I was in New Orleans, I got to taste some real authentic Creole food, and it was just so good. And I am such a picky eater that I was so excited to find stuff that was just wonderful. It's just like, yes, I want more of this. So that was very fun. So I'm very excited about this food. And thinking about this food in this new ebook of yours, if your cookbook was like a menu and I was going to sit down at the table and read through it, can you tell us a little bit about the categories or the recipes or the types of foods we would find?
Sure, absolutely. I have everything from appetizers to side dishes, to you may see you actually have a whole classification for home for the holidays. There are specific foods that we typically make during the holidays. You'll have some specific rice pasta dishes, soups, gumbo. Also, you will have some desserts. So it's really got a good variety of different things that I think will please anybody's palate.
Oh, that just sounds so good. I think I may be hungry because I'm just going, can we try this now? Can we practice with some recipes? So, what prompted you to write this cookbook? I mean, that's an undertaking.
It is actually, it's been a labor of love, quite honestly, since 2017. What I was really blessed with was I had amazing cooks in my family, especially on my mother's side. And what I realized was that none of them wrote down any recipes. So
Oh,
unless you were actually in the kitchen with them or someone else that you knew shared the recipe or they actually took time to show you, once my loved ones passed away, that was it. So unfortunately, no recipe cards, nothing written down on small pieces of paper. And I said, you know what? This is a great way to be able to continue to not only share the love that they had of cooking, but then also the love that I developed just being able to spend time with my mom, my grandmother, great aunts in the kitchen and others as well. And so as I began to speak to other people that I love, my friends and other people that I've met along the way, they said that their families also didn't write down anything. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take time to be able to compile something that will be a labor of love, not only just from my family recipes, but also from some of the recipes that I enjoyed having from some of their tables or from their family members. So.
oh, yeah, that's so important. I remember in my family we had there was this oatmeal cookie recipe, and the cookies came out just lacy looking, and thin and crisp and just yummy. And I remember for a long time that recipe was on the back of a piece of paper that had been used for something else. and it was in my mother's writing, so we're talking bazillion years ago. And it was like, no, no, this little piece of paper, no. So good for you for writing that down. That is so important.
Oh, yes.
Wow. And do you have a favorite recipe in your cookbook?
Ooh, it's so hard to be able to pin that down because there are so many. But I'll say, since we just concluded the major holidays, one of my favorite recipes is what you would call melon dressing. And melons in South Louisiana are kind of wild squash, if you will. So perhaps in your area, if you've ever heard of chayote squash or prickly pear, it's the
Oh,
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So if you've ever found those, what we tend to do in reference to making that type of recipe is you can either boil them to be able to make the inside soft, or you can actually cut them in half and roast them. Once you've done that, just pretty much scoop out the middle, take out the seeds, scoop out the middle, and you can go ahead and season it with things like onion, bell pepper, garlic. Some people tend to go ahead and use breadcrumbs as a binding. And for me, I tend to use lump crab meat and shrimp. So when you pull all of that together and go ahead and bake it as a casserole, it is amazing.
Oh, it sounds really good.
It is.
It has almost all of my favorite foods. If it had mushrooms in it, it would be a perfect meal for me. But that sounds so good.
It is. It really, really is.
Wow, I may have to try that. Because it doesn't have to be during the holidays, right? It
No,
could be
no. You can make
anytime.
this year round. I know that a lot of times for us, at least in the deep south, they tend to, those particular merlotons, they actually grow wild, and they tend to grow real best. Well, it's almost time to pick them during the fall. So that's a lot of times why we would end up having them during the holidays. But yes, I'm sure you could probably have other things shipped in. I'm sure grocery stores have them, I would think, mainly year round. So.
Yeah. Ooh, yum. Okay. Um, let's see. And you were going to talk a little bit more about some of the techniques. So if we were standing in your kitchen, what are some techniques or tips, ways of doing? I mean, I just remember when I was learning about microbiotic cooking 100 years ago, they have a special way of using the knife that is not the typical way of using the knife to cut. And are there some tips for folks who want to try one of your recipes?
Sure. Well, one thing that you'll see if you actually purchase the book is I do have a listing for specific types of spices. For example, some of you may know about Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning. That's one of my favorite kinds. I honestly do not measure. I will tell you specifically, hey, season to your taste, because everyone's taste buds may be, different. Robin and I were laughing a little bit before we started the interview. People have a misnomer or a preconceived notion that everything from Louisiana is spicy. That's not true. There's a difference between spice and there's a difference between seasoning. So when we say seasoning, we're saying that it's a good blend of different types of things. It could be Creole seasoning, it could be onion, bell pepper, garlic, Italian seasoning, parsley, whatever it may be that you tend to use. And again, it depends on your own palate. One of the things that we love to be able to use in a lot of, whether it's soups, beans, things like that, is bay leaf. And so bay leaf just really gives a really good flavor to different things. Even, for example, even for some of the so-called American type of recipes like meatballs and spaghetti or spaghetti and meat sauce, whatever it may be. But you just always have to remember to take that bay leaf out, because bay leaf can be so overpowering that once you're done cooking it, if you leave the bay leaf in and you have a significant amount of leftovers, over time, that bay leaf will overpower that dish, and then it kind of ends up ruining it. So once you're done cooking, to always make sure to go ahead and take that bay leaf out as soon as possible.
That is so good to know, because I didn't know that, and I'm sure that I've left it in because, so thank you. That was really helpful. And since we're almost out of time, how do people find out where your book is, how to buy it, how to get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. You can actually follow me on both Facebook and Instagram at Dina's Creole Table. So it's the same for Facebook as well as IG. There's a link that's actually on there that will bring you to the cookbook. And also, I'm giving it to you because there's a couple of free recipes that are also on both Facebook and Instagram.
Oh, super good, because I know everyone loves a free recipe, and especially if it's yummy.
Yes.
You know, and with your recipes all being family inspired and handed down, they've already tried and true. So that's pretty exciting. Okay, anything, oh, we're almost out of time, but any quick little thing you want to say really quick?
Yes, I just wanted to again say thank you guys so much. And for those of you who are looking for something different, I would definitely recommend that. And it is both traditional recipes as well as kind of a modern twist on some other types of Creole cooking. So I hope that you have a chance to try it and enjoy it. So I'll go ahead and leave you with this one last teaser. For some of you, depending upon where you are, you may have heard of grits, but there's a really great appetizer that's in the book that's called fried grit balls stuffed with shrimp. You don't want to miss it.
That sounds so good. Well,
It's a modern twist on shrimp and grits. So
thank you so much. This has just been wonderful.
thank you so much. I appreciate the invite.
And I couldn't resist putting this in. So in case you're trying to figure out how to get in touch with her or how to get those free recipes, this is what the front of her ebook looks like. And I have put her Gmail address, and also for IG, don't forget to put the underscore in the space so that you can get in touch. And I was looking through her recipes because yes, I did. I had to buy her e-cookbook. And the Hawaiian bourbon style chicken wings just sounded really good to me. So that's the one that I thought I would share with you today because it just looked really wonderful. And we are just about at the end of our program so that you know what's going on. And don't forget to like or follow us on Facebook so that you'll know what's going on. And also on Instagram and YouTube. And don't forget to click the bell on, this is so funny, I was playing with all my settings, and so some of them weren't happening, and that's the one I wanted you all to see so you could subscribe. A couple more things to let you know before we go. Our next program is going to be April 22nd, and please feel free to share your thoughts and comments with us because that's really helpful in terms of programming. Don't forget to subscribe, and this will be up on YouTube in just a few minutes. So thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it, and we hope that some of this information has been helpful to you because we want to share, and we know how challenging it is to get some of the information you need because we're always all bombarded with information all the time. So thank you very much for joining us.